Hi everyone, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Becky, and welcome to Sounds Like a Bunch of
Hoopla! We're both from the Taylor Community Library, and we're here to recommend a movie for you to watch with the family, and one maybe best left without the kids. Available here on Hoopla.
These are films that we have both seen and are here to give our spoiler-free thoughts on. Okay, so first let's talk about our family movie, which was The Water Horse. So what are your initial thoughts on this movie before you started watching it?
So I have never watched it, even though I know it came out a few years ago, and by a few, 13 years ago. I knew it was based on a book, an older book, and it had some pretty good actors in there. And it was a historical fiction and fantasy, and I was like, this is probably going to be good. I'm going to like it. Also, water horses are great. Even though I am afraid of like the open water, it's called thalassophobia. It's a real thing. And so that did worry me, but I thought, hey, if it's like the Loch Ness Monster, are lochs really big? Are they like oceans? I don't know. So I was excited.
I am pretty sure that I've seen it before. A lot of parts were familiar, but then I don't really remember the ending. So I don't know if like maybe I caught part of it like on TV one day or if I just don't remember watching it. But I was excited to see it. I heard really good things about it. Like you said, there are some pretty good actors in it. And I knew from at least the trailer and the parts that I remembered seeing that it was like a really pretty film to watch. So I was pretty excited.
Yeah, the visuals just in the trailer alone are so nice. Which, why don't I explain to our audience? I'll give a nice little description. The Water Horse is a sweeping epic rooted in one of the most enduring and intriguing legends of our time. Set in the desolate landscape of the Scottish Highlands during World War II, The Water Horse tells the story of Angus, a 12-year-old boy who anxiously awaits the return of his father who is serving in the military overseas. Spending his days exploring the shores of a nearby loch, he stumbles across a mysterious egg. Taking it home, he watches as the egg hatches into an amazing creature, the mythical Water Horse of Scottish legend. At first, he is able to conceal it from his mother, who is dealing with her own emotional torment and coping with the regiment of soldiers who have been billeted at the estate where she acts as a housekeeper. Although he has become attached to the creature, it grows so rapidly that he is forced to release it into the loch, where it evolves into a terrifying yet understanding sea monster that Angus risks his life to protect. Oh, I got goosebumps just reading the description. It's so sweet.
I guess once I started watching it, I was really invested in it. For some reason, historical fictions play out a lot better in movie form for me. I don't really read a whole lot of historical fiction, but I'm really, really into it when it's in a movie. And the fact that it does take place during World War II was really, really interesting.
I haven't watched a lot of Scottish films, but I have read, I love historical fiction in book form. And I have read a lot that are set in Europe and Africa and Asia. And I really enjoy foreign settings, and especially learning either with mythology and legends like with this book, or culturally for a lot of those other ones. So I did really appreciate that, and I did enjoy the movie all throughout. So this is based on a book called The Water Horse by Dick King-Smith, which, fun fact about him, he also wrote Babe, our favorite little piggy. But this book we have available on our shelves. It is a juvenile book, obviously, and anyone can come and check it out when we are open for curbside or for visiting again. I think it'd be a good family book. Mm-hmm. And then I think a nice introduction to historical fiction and or fantasy for any young kid.
Yeah, because I definitely think that the movie played a really good role in mixing the two. It's definitely not something that I would ever think of as something that would be well mixed, but it definitely was able to do it pretty seamlessly because it made it seem like what we know of as the Loch Ness Monster has something to do with war times. The main focus is the Water Horse, obviously it's the title, but it really tells us like the whole history of the Water Horse, like what the legend is, and then what happens with this boy, and then what ends up, it clues in what's going to happen in the future. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, without giving any spoilers, because these are supposed to be spoiler free.
Yes.
you get closure in this.
Yes.
which last week we may not have gotten closure in all of our movies. I do love, as I said, I love historical fiction. World War II era historical fiction. A lot of people might think that it's overdone because it is, the book and movie world is saturated with books and movies from that time period. But I think this one was a great addition to those time period pieces. Definitely.
I mean,
definitely worth a view.
Yeah. I mean, some people may think that it's overdone, but I think there's just so much out there because so many people are interested in it. Like, I don't think it ever gets old because there's always something new that you can come up with or something new to learn, whether it be fact or fiction. Like, it's always a really interesting period because it played such a big role in the world. So, I mean, the fact that you can do, 5,000 things just set from an American point of view. And now think of all the other countries that were also impacted. Now you can do all those same things, but from their point of view. Like, it's this is such an interesting time period. There's still the water horse, which can take a different spin on it. And it almost makes you think, like, probably not, but we don't know. Messi could be real, but, like, did this really happen?
We don't know.
We don't know that. Even if you're not interested in World War II, I think that this movie, it didn't, like, play on it too much. So even if, like, that's going to fly over your kids' heads or you just don't care, it's still a really great film to watch.
Yeah. They did not focus on any type of violence or anything with it. It was just the time period and the reason why the soldiers were quartered at that estate. So it is not violent in that sense for any kids if they're sensitive to that. Side note, another great book turned into a film that I think kind of introduces that type of history in a fiction way for children would be The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Wonderful, wonderful book and movie. Cried my eyes out. How'd you like the ending, Becky?
I really enjoyed the ending. I felt like it all, even though it is a little bit open-ended, it still has a ending, or at least almost like this chapter has ended. I felt like it was, like, really cute and whimsical and just really, like, wrapped up the movie, but it still gave you a little bit of, like, what's going to happen next.
Yeah, you do. You come to care for the little boy and his whole family and the water horse, weirdly, even though it's a mythical creature. You do care for it because he started off as, like, a little pet. But it was just such a dynamic film of not just that fantasy portion and not just the historical fiction portion, but it was also a great story of friendship and family. It was beautiful. Out of 10, 9.5.
Yeah.
It has high rewatchability.
Yeah, I think mine would probably be an 8.5 or a 9. I really enjoyed it. I do think it has rewatchability because I feel like each time you watch it, you would kind of pick up on something else. It was, like, nice and heartwarming and just, like, a really good film to watch with the family and to kind of take your mind off all the other crazy going on in the world.
All right, our adult film is called Color Out of Space, which is a short story written by H.P. Lovecraft, the master of creepy horror and science fiction. It was written in 1927, which is a little bit ago, a little ways back. And something that I did find after researching the movie after watching it, this is actually, like, the 5th adaptation of the short story.
Really?
The first, Color Out of Space is the name of the short story. But in 1965, it was made into a movie called Die Monster Die. Then in 1987, a film called The Curse, which had Will Wheaton in it, which any 80s people love Will Wheaton. And then in 2008, Color from the Dark. And then, of course, this year, Color Out of Space with the wonderful, wonderful Nick Cage. The Hoopla description says, After a meteorite lands in the front yard of their farm, Nathan Gardner and his family find themselves battling a mutant extraterrestrial organism as it infects their minds and bodies, transforming the quiet rural life into a living nightmare. So this movie is based on a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. That is actually available in the short story collection Tales by H.P. Lovecraft, which we do have on the shelves at the library. So you can get a copy when we open back up. What were your initial, just looking at the cover of the movie, give me some thoughts.
It honestly, the cover looks like a B-grade horror film. So I was very excited because I love them. But I also figured, like, with Nicolas Cage in it, it would be like a little bit, maybe more of like a higher quality, maybe more science. I don't know. All I know is what I thought I was getting myself into. I had no idea what was really going to happen.
My first reactions were very similar to yours. The cover is fantastic.
It
looks super, super science fiction-y. Honestly, it reminded me a little bit of maybe like a Stranger Things type of cover.
So we've talked about what we thought we were getting ourselves into.
Our initial thoughts.
Yes. However, it is now time to talk about what we actually watched.
We did not know what we were getting into.
Not at all.
I have never read that particular story by H.P. Lovecraft. I've read others, so I know they can be a little crazy. It happens. He's very fantastical. He wrote, he's been dead a long time. He wrote good stories. They were creepy and scary and filled with fantasy and science fiction and horror and creatures that you've never thought of before. So I should have known. I didn't know.
I will say, to preface what we're about to talk about, it's not a bad film.
No, it's great. I liked it.
Yeah, like, I enjoyed it. I highly suggest people watch it, but I definitely wouldn't give it any awards, okay? I don't think it's awful where it, like, should win something for being terrible, but it's just like you're gonna watch it and you're gonna be like, what did I just do?
Right. Like, it wouldn't be a contender for the Razzie Award, but it also is not going to win any Oscars. Although I will say that Nick Cage plays every movie as if it is an Oscar-worthy performance. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. In this film, we got to see him as a city man turned farmer, and then, without giving too much away, also a very interesting accent worked its way in. I couldn't even tell you the origins of that accent. I just need you to watch it and enjoy it like I did.
It was bad in, like, the best way possible. It was an entertaining bad movie.
Because it wasn't B-rate. It had an A-rate movie budget. The effects were pretty good, I thought. I thought the effects were very convincing and terrifying. But it will make you laugh and be scared. Mm-hmm. Which I think is the best feeling to be.
I think so too, because there's definitely scenes where you're just like, I can't look at this. It was, at times it was intense. Like, overall, I don't think it wasn't like a B-grade horror film where you're just like, this is so bad, I'm laughing. Like you said, it had an A budget on it. It's definitely produced very well. The graphics are really cool. It is, terrifying at the same time. And I just, like, at the end of it, it reminded me of, like, Annihilation. If you've seen because I haven't read the book, I don't know how different.
I did the opposite. I've read the books, and yes, it is. It has some big similarities there. So if they did the movie like how the book is laid out, I could definitely see that.
Okay. Because, I only saw the movie. I definitely want to check out the book just to see what it was like. Because, honestly, the movie Annihilation, the way that it ends is a little bit similar to this. But with Annihilation, I was angry about the ending because I was like, I don't know anything I just watched. I don't understand anything that just played out in front of me. Whereas this, like, it made sense, but it was just insane. It was a very wild ride.
Which with Annihilation, Becky, there are 2 other books in that series. It's a short, almost novella length, a little longer than a novella probably, but it's 3 short books all together, and it's a wild ride. So I would definitely recommend that series if you enjoy Color Out of Space. I would read the short story. We've got it. Come get it when you can. And then I would also read that Annihilation trilogy, because that one will go quick. So the Annihilation trilogy, we do own the physical copy of the first book and, of course, the movie at the Taylor Library. If you are interested in all 3, they are available on Overdrive if you have a library card.
Of course, without being spoiler free, as far as like the plot line, did you feel like it was believable? Like how science fiction-y did you feel this was? Was it like totally out there? Did you think like it all overall made sense? I mean, it's still crazy.
It made sense. It was easy to follow along of the extraterrestrial portion of it, like where they came from and their purpose, and how they got from point A to B with all the crazy things in between. It made sense, even if it was insane to watch. You knew the progression. It wasn't like a cluster bomb. I'll say cluster bombs. We all know what I meant. It wasn't easy to follow a plot line that did go on some wild twists and turns, but you could definitely follow along.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's definitely not super close to reality where you're like, oh my God, this could happen. I mean, it's still pretty out there, but at the same time, it's believable enough where you're like, maybe that would happen. Like nothing happened where it was like, why did that just happen? Why,
Right.
you understood exactly. Well, I don't know if you could understand it, but you were never like lost or confused about what was playing out. Like it all made sense of like you said, how each part takes place.
The cohesion of nature with the extraterrestrial organisms and nature coming together, that I thought gave license to some very beautiful visuals.
Yeah, it is a very pretty movie.
Very pretty in most areas, and then some things happen.
Yeah,
and it is not pretty anymore.
I would rather not ever see again.
It is, for lack of a better word, and I don't want to be negative, it's ugly. There are some ugly things that you will see. The llamas, man.
Oh my God.
The llamas. There's llamas in the film. That's all we'll say. Or are they alpacas?
Oh, alpacas. They are, because it's like,
are they?
Those alpacas cost me. It's based on H.P. Lovecraft, so it's definitely terrifying. Like I did love the terrifying parts. It's really terrifying. It definitely met the bar. It wasn't cheesy. Like it was, ew, it was gross.
I was scared.
Yeah. And like the effects are really well done, so it definitely didn't look low budget, anything like that. So the horror elements were really well done, but they are real gross, and there are some things that we could have done without, like some of the sound effects that go along with those scenes.
I thought it added greatly to the story to have all of your senses inundated with what was happening.
I definitely feel it was worth my time watching.
Let's give your star rating and then rewatchability factor.
I really don't know where to put this film. My initial reaction is like an 8.5. It was really good, but I would definitely watch it again. I would definitely suggest other people watch it. It's a really, really good discussion movie. It's a really good movie to watch and then talk about.
I would have to agree with you. I would probably put it on like 7.5, 8. And the rewatchability factor, I think, is contingent on watching it in a group setting and introducing new people to the film. Yeah. This is something I do every October when it's spooky time. I always get a group of friends together and we watch horror films. And I think this would be a fantastic addition to that.
Yeah. It's definitely not like, oh, I want to watch that film again. This is I want someone else to experience what I have experienced film. So it's definitely something that you're going to watch and then be like, someone else needs to see this. I need to talk about this with somebody. So it's a really great film to share.
Being spoiler free, I will say again, is very hard on this film. You just have to trust us and just watch it. We hope we've given you 2 new movies to borrow from Hoopla. After watching them, be sure to come back and tell us what you thought in the comments.
See you next time on Sounds Like a Bunch of
Hoopla!